Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Merry stupid o'clock. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers. So I decided to try to cheer myself up with the barrage of calls I know I'm going to get today by getting last year's Way Day shirt out. But it's really cold, so the long johns came out too. It's a wee bit cold outside, folks. But with Missouri, it can be really cold right now and end up 90 degrees later, even in the middle of the fall. So, I don't know. Tell Missouri to go home, she's drunk. Ugh. Anyways, folks, sorry, I'm completely space cadet this morning. Tiffany can't brain. I really cannot brain. So, let's move on to the disclaimers, shall we? In the description box, folks, you're going to see the link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavioral modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they do not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so folks, you know the drill. Please read that article and share on all your social media. We also got the I can't bring. We also have linked in the description box NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. We also got the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has, and pending, over 21 substantiated by the Department of Mental Health claims, allegations, and civil lawsuits. They include child abuse, sodomy, sexual abuse and assault, child trafficking, and starvation, and that's just for starters. We've had one former staff We've had one former staff member arrested by the FBI, a doctor who's still on the premises, up on multiple substantiated claims of sodomy and sexual abuse against the students. We have an attorney general too busy on Twitter trying to tell everybody else about supposedly his opponent lying than to actually have him shut up and actually do his own job and use the authority of his office to get those kids the hell out of there. So, please, folks, read those articles, share on all your social media for the love of God, and sign and rotate and put out there on all your social media the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. We also got the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. When we discuss JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, please use your headphones, all right? Also, trigger warning, we are reading Matthew Israel, the founder of this hellhole's own words. It's going to be full of gaslighting. It's going to be full of victim blaming. It's going to be full of word salads, pseudoscience, and just out and out batshit insanity. So, trigger warning, logic is not something that Matthew Israel understands nor uses. Okay? It is 4:10 a.m. in the morning. I am scattered-brained as fuck. And I'm having one of my autistic days where it's getting a little bit more difficult to focus on verbalizing things correctly. So if I stumble over my words, folks, stare off into space, let loose a string of obscenities that would make any sailor blush. Apologies in advance, all right? Also, because I forgot, because Space Cadet, this channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity, and we talk about dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger, parental supervision is very obviously advised. All right, so where we left off yesterday, MTRI's appeal must be rejected by the United Nations because of its obvious false statements, bias, and lack of credible evidence. Oh, the ball's on you! You just lied, JRC. The credible evidence is the receipts from court cases that you've been found in. It's based on the 2006 New York report, an unbiased party that came out to evaluate you. It comes from your own surveillance video footage, your own DESI reports, and your own fucking handbook, no less. It comes from the witness statements of staff whistleblowers. It comes from survivor testimonies. It comes from parents' testimonies. It comes from an archive who's been keeping your receipts from all the way back in the 70s. If you are trying to tell me that all these independent parties, including those out in your own state, no less, are all lying, and we're just supposed to trust you, bro? No. By the way, Doctor, I find it absolutely hilarious that you have the balls to talk about credible evidence when you were caught with your pants down, so to speak. Yes, dear folks, in 2010, this is when Matthew Israel was forced to leave JRC due to the fact that he ordered the destruction of video evidence in regards to the 2020, let me see here. No, it was 2 years after this. The 2012 incident where 2 kids were shot over 71 times each. You remember that, don't you? Yeah. Put on 4-point boards, face down, helmets on, each one shot 71 times. He ordered the destruction of that evidence and all related paperwork. And he wants to talk about credible evidence. Real cute. And they want to talk about bias. Here's the thing. If the whole rest of the world and all the different medical systems that are out there disagree with you, doctor, but everyone at the JRC all believe in adverses with their whole chest, wouldn't it be you who has the bias? If the rest of the collective world agrees that what you do is torture, and I've got my problems with the medical model, you all know that. A long list when it comes to bullshit from the medical model. But if all the rest of the world all agrees, people who have doctorates, master's degrees, who've worked in the field, yes, in spite of your insanity, Matthew Israel, have treated people as severe as the people who enter your doors. If they all agree that your program belongs to basically the age of the dodo, is it us with the bias or is it you? Just wanting to say it. Obvious false statements. Is that a fact, doctor? See, the rest of the world sees what you do as torture. They can watch that Andre McCollins video, and what they see is not treatment. That includes doctors out in my area who specialize in these subjects. The United Nations did not form their opinion off of MDRI's appeal to them. They formed their opinion by looking at the raw evidence for themselves. So for you to have the balls to say, well, you all just convinced them. You really think I'm going to convince the UN Special Rapporteur on torture of anything? Anything? I can say that what I do day to day is fucking torture. You gotta look at me now, that just means your life sucks. You know what I mean? I'm just saying here. It's not false just because you say it is, Matthew Israel. You're not a victim. You are not being unfairly treated. These opinions have been based off of video surveillance footage. It's based off of ER documents. It is based off of the few documents you managed to not end up getting destroyed. On testimonies on whistleblowers. They all came to the MDRI. And remember, doctor, it's not just a group of angry people like me, who, in spite of my anger and my diagnosis, I've worked in the field, as had many of the people who were a part of that letter. By the way, I notice you go after them, but you don't say anything about any of us who signed those documents, like ARC. I don't see you going after ARC. I don't see you going after People First. I don't see you going against NOVA, NAMI, and several of the other groups that signed that document right alongside MDRI. No, you're just going to go after them specifically because Judge Rotenberg Center and Matthew Israel, they want to single us disabled people who stand against them out. And they want to discredit us. Why? Because they think we're too stupid to know what's good for us. Because if you listen to us, you might start looking at the facts. You might listen to the people who were stuck in this hellhole and the whistleblowers. They attack us instead of places like ARC and these big programs because they think we're weak. They think that we will cave under any level of scrutiny. And they use, at least softly, some of the same gaslighting tactics that they use on their own students. They were not prepared for the fact that no level of gaslighting is going to make us stand down. They were not prepared for people to believe us. And now they have decided to try and discredit us because they see us as weak. But they don't go after the bigger brands that are more well-known that signed that document, like ARC. Because that would be literally torpedoing themselves. Interesting, isn't it? Even eventually Autism Speaks turned on them. And we all know what I think about Autism Speaks. But the fact of the matter is, Autism Speaks can't hide the fact that originally they supported them and did not turn their backs until the pressure was up and that video went viral back in 2012. But let's move on here. JRC invites the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Torture to visit JRC and witness firsthand the life-saving treatment and groundbreaking education that is being provided to what is probably the highest concentration of difficult-to-treat special needs students in the world. Here we go! You're amazing. and I mean this as sarcastically as humanly possible, your sense of self-righteousness and condescension is just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing. So you're going to educate the special rapporteur on torture about what is and isn't torture. Is that what I'm hearing here? Your condescending appeal to authority doesn't work on a specialist whose specific area of study, whose doctorate and master's degrees are in torture. You're going to tell them it's life-saving, though. It's groundbreaking. And we're going to tell you also that these are the highest, most awful, most insane monkey-throwing poo people on the planet. They are really trying to sell it, folks. They are really trying to sell that only the JRC in all the world takes on kids so severe that only torture can save them. It's garbage, folks. It's nonsensical garbage. I've said it 1,000 times, but JRC, the numbers don't work. Just in my state alone, I cover 25% of my state. Missouri's huge. 25% of my state. That's several million consumers. Are you really going to tell me that none of those people out of that 25% cut out of my state were as quote unquote difficult to treat and severe as the kids that you see there? It's bullshit, folks. And then you're going to tell this individual who works on a world stage, only JRC in the whole world has students this difficult. Are you outside your fucking gourd? That must be some good shit you're smoking, Matthew. That's all I got to say. That's got to be some good shit. The fact of the matter is, folks, there are people that he's talking about, these students, all over the world. And yet, none of these countries use programs like he does. A good majority of them, like the majority of the US, except that the JRC abandoned the concept of adversives all the way back starting late 80s, early 90s. The same time we started getting rid of corporal punishment in schools. This was a bunch of gaslighting here. And the fact that he has the balls to try to gaslight the special rapporteur on torture blows my mind. Blows my mind. And they're also using, you notice what that looks like here. You're going to see it familiar because you've seen it recently in that Apologencia document we just read, where the JRC's like, if you just let us give you a guided tour and watch our propaganda videos, you'll understand and we can explain it to you. It's what they always do. It's this appeal to authority. It's the we are the experts and you're stupid, so we're going to explain it to you. It's garbage. They want the special rapporteur on torture to buy into the propaganda, and it didn't work, thank God. This is the shit that they always do, folks. Everybody else is lying but the JRC. Kind of sounds like another case, doesn't it? Kind of sounds like another lying, narcissist, abusive person. Amber Heard. Doesn't it? Doesn't it? All right, folks. I'm sorry, but that paragraph blew my mind so much. I'm going to try to sum it up and get back to the rest of my morning here. It is amazing that Matthew Israel tries to change the mind of the special rapporteur on torture. But how he does it is he attacks groups that harbor people with disabilities within their numbers. Groups that give us a seat at the table. What he doesn't include is major organizations. ARC stood against them. Let's see here. Nova stood against them. Several civil liberty groups stood against them. Groups with a great deal of power and a lot of constituents stood against them. ARC services a good majority of the United States and some international as far as providing services. The ARC does not use adversives in their treatments and programs with students. Funny how they seem to service those individuals just fine. And with a group as large as ARC is, and its many different branches, to sit there and say with your whole chest that nobody ever in all the world deals with people as difficult to treat as the JRC, it's garbage. And that's why they don't call ARC out, because ARC can come forward and give the lie to their words. No, they're going to go after these disability people formed groups of individuals. They're going to attack us. And they do it playing upon the anti-disabled bias that is systematic throughout society in one way or another. They play you upon stereotypes. They're too stupid to understand what's good for them. Trope. Yeah. But the groups who can actually stand toe-to-toe in funding, in resources, and influence, they never go after. Interesting, isn't it? We're going to close out on that. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.